we're all connected, what's really interesting to me is that we're basically many small groups all connected together, right? Basically, evolution is we're hardwired to form groups, right? And there's tons and tons of research. You can go into lots of detail about this. What's interesting is that these groups are independent, right? So my family, and this is true for all of you guys, right? You probably have about between 4 and 6 groups, and those groups typically have like a line of 8, 10 people at the most. But those groups are independent. So, you know, for me, for example, I'm a good example. I have my family, obviously. I lived in London, I have London friends. I lived in Dublin, I have Dublin friends. And I lived in San Francisco, and I have San Francisco friends. Those groups of people, although I know all of them, do not know each other, right? And that has profound implications for how messages spread, how content spreads, and how people interact with one another, right? You know, when my San Francisco friends see my Dublin friends and don't know who they are, we need to build in things into experiences to make it easier for those people to interact. Or if we don't want them to interact, which is often the case as well, we want to, you know, build things that kind of keep them apart. So these groups typically form around life stage, so family, if you lived somewhere for a while, I mean, these are pretty classic examples, hobbies and so on. So beyond that, we have all the people we're connected to. And, you know, there's this kind of myth. People often talk about young people and say, oh my God, they have 800 Facebook friends, they have 1,000 Facebook friends. The youth of today is totally different to my generation. That's all a myth. Right? We have limits in terms of physiology in how many people we can remember. Right? For most people, it's about 500 people. And then once you go beyond 500, you start getting the really awkward experience of walking on the street and someone's coming towards you and you're like, oh my God, I know them, but I can't remember how, and I'm sure they'll remember me, and so I need to like make a disappearing act super fast, right, to avoid this embarrassing situation. Right? So people have limits. It's about 500. So 500 connections, 4 to 6 groups of 4 to 10 people, a close friend set of about 15, an inner circle of about 5. This is basically what we're designing around. This is, for most people, the social construct in which we need to build experiences for them. Okay, so then you wonder, how did this come to be, right? How did we end up in this situation with, you know, these certain sets of friends who don't know each other, the fact that we love some people more than others, and the fact that some people are connected that we may not even like necessarily, but there are reasons why we need to stay connected to them. Right? How did all this come about? And for the most part, it came through very lightweight conversations, right? And the way I like to describe this is many lightweight interactions over time. That's how people get to know each other, right? It's like I say, you know, we meet for the first time, like a bit of chit-chat from me, chit-chat from you, back from me, back from you. Like it's two-way, it's very fast. If you look at all the conversations that happen on Facebook in terms of comments, it's very fast, very short, like numbers of words, you know, less than 10 words, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? And that's how people build relationships with one another. You know, you guys all know that